what makes $1 million brand? Like, what makes those businesses just look like just that little bit fancy, just that little bit incredible, just that little bit wow? In this video, I want to go through some of the top design trends that are going on right now as we go into 2025 to make sure that your business is looking modern, is looking on trend, and is looking like $1 million business. Whether you are scaling and wanting to be $1 million business technically, or whether you just want to look the part, you want to look professional, you want to look like a business who is trustworthy at a glance, and how we can elevate your brand so that you are someone who can charge a premium price. So this is the fourth video in a 4-part series I've been doing on $1 million businesses. First up, we looked at myths of $1 million brands. Then we looked at 5 common traits that $1 million brands have in common. And most recently, we chatted about how you can equip your team to create your $1 million brand and graphics. And this week, we're getting very granular and looking at examples. Like, I've got so many examples for you to show you what $1 million brand actually looks like. Now, I should present this as a podcast and on YouTube. If you are on the podcast right now, I'd recommend jumping onto the link into the show notes where you'll be able to watch the video of this. You'll be able to see me explaining through these design decisions. If you've just got a podcast, maybe you're in the car, you're going on a walk, you can't watch the YouTube version, that's totally okay. I will explain things as I go, but there are going to be some incredible examples if you jump onto YouTube. I'll also add these images into the blog as well. And so I want to show you how you can apply these design trends into your own business. And don't worry, if you're getting stuck of working out how you can do this and what design trends and how to actually work this out for your own business, I have something at the end that might help that I want to share with you. So hi, if we haven't met before, my name is Jacqui and I am a graphic designer who loves teaching business owners all things brand and graphics, because branding and design is more than just prettiness. It's about strategy. And today we're going to look into that strategy behind $1 million branding. So let's dive in. So a really big design trend that $1 million brands have in common is this simplicity to their designs. Their designs aren't cluttered and full. There is a stripped back simplicity to the graphics. Some people might refer to this as minimalism. It's when your designs don't have a lot going on. So you can see some of these graphics I'm pointing to right now. We've got house number 9 here. There is a lot of white space around this graphic. In essence, all the graphic is some text laid out in a really beautiful way. Same with this one here. We've got a really, really simple icon and some really simple text and really simple design. Like there's no clutter happening here. And that openness to the design helps the design to feel really intentional. And $1 million brands are intentional. They're not just chucking stuff at the wall hoping it will stick. They've got a strategy behind what they're doing, how they're serving you, the quality of their product. Like everything has a strategy. And when your design also has a clean, crisp strategy to it, it helps people to think, cool, this business has thought things through. They don't need to just fill things up for the sake of filling things up. They're not just like chucking out random ideas. The business itself and what they're giving me looks really intentional, streamlined, and proper. And that's what our branding can look like if we have that more simple kind of design style. And that design style might be quite simple. As you see, lots of these are really simple. They're really straightforward. The colors are quite muted as well. There's lots of white space, hard edges, and really clean design. However, what I want to share with you is this next page of examples where you'll see that these designs are also quite simple, but they are colorful. I don't want people to think that to have $1 million brand, you need to strip away everything that's you. As you know, with my branding, it's quite colorful and playful. I wouldn't claim to have $1 million brand. I'm not targeting that because I don't have like a really, really high tier offering. But what I am trying to target is business owners who want their branding to look incredible. And so I want to actually target those people as well. I go a lot into how you can target the right people and communicate the right message in all of my different videos and inside my programs. But in essence, if you have a design that is simple and clean, you can still have bright colors. You can still represent fun. You can still be a little bit playful. And so these designs really do that. Like this design is not complex, but it's got a really beautiful blue, a really beautiful purple. This one here has a really, really bright yellow, really bright green, blue and pink and peach. And it's still quite modern and clean and simple and not too complicated and not looking like an amateur brand. And even this one on the far left, it's actually got quite an intense pattern here. It's got a beautiful floral pattern for those of you listening. But because that is paired with some really stripped back minimal design, it comes through. And so if you are wanting to have either some brighter colors or maybe some more intricate patterns, you can do that. You just pair that with other simple designs. You're not cluttering it up with everything else. You might use a really beautiful pattern or really beautiful texture or really beautiful colors, but you then pair that with a really stripped back design. So if you've got a really busy layout section where you've got a really big pattern, the next section should be really clean, or the text or the layout you put on that pattern should be really clean. And so try not to busy things up too much, but you can still have design that has personality even if you want a simple design. All right, so that's tip number 1, is have a really simple, clean design. The next tip is around fonts. And so a really, really classic modern font pairing is a serif font and a sans serif font. Now, what you see on the screen if you're watching this is not what I recommend. I'm going to be showing you some better ways to apply this, but first I want to teach you what a serif font and a sans serif font is. And so you can see here, If I zoom in, on this serif font, you have what's called feet. And so serifs are these little bits of feet, these little extra lines that make the design really interesting. So if you're listening on the podcast, you just think about like the font Times New Roman, and it usually has little feet at the bottom of the letters, maybe on the S or on the R, like anywhere like that. A sans serif font literally means without the serifs, without those little feet on the designs. Most fonts that we see and use in our businesses will be either a serif font, a sans serif font, or a cursive/script font. Look, so many fonts can go into these main families of fonts. I mean, call them typefaces if you want to get more particular, but I like using kind of really common language, so I like using the word font. And so this combination here is a really common font combination and really clean and really crisp and usually works really easily. But you can see that this actually doesn't look that nice. This looks fine, but it's nothing like, oh wow, that's a really suave brand. What's missing here is contrast. Contrast between the sizing of the fonts. You can see here on the screen, I've just made the serif font quite large, and I've made the font underneath it, the sans serif font, quite small in contrast to that large font. I've also made it in all caps just to provide a little bit more contrast. So what people usually come to me, my students say, oh, Jacqui, I've got these really great fonts, but I can't make it look good together. It's often because you don't have enough contrast between the sizing of those fonts. And so this is one example. Another example is not even having it in uppercase for that sans serif font below. Or we can swap it around. We can have the sans serif font on top and the serif font below. But again, you can see a large contrast in sizing. We've got large heading and small subheading, large text versus small text. This is what makes your designs look dynamic, interesting, modern, professional. And there's another example here. So lots of $1 million brands actually use these two fonts, a sans serif font combined with a serif font, but the way that they do it is timeless. The way that they do it is incredible, and it's simple and it's sleek. And so what they're doing, as you can see in all of these examples, there's quite a large, most often it's a large serif font, and that's being paired with a really stripped back, clean and simple sans serif font. And so you can pair two serif fonts together, you can pair two sans serif fonts together, you can pair a sans serif and a serif font together. And there's so many variants of these fonts. Like most of the fonts that you'll see in the world are either one of these fonts. So you can combine those together. And when you do, especially if you choose fonts that aren't too busy inside these families, is the fonts actually usually go well together because there's not too many jarring ideas going together. I've got a whole video on fonts that I'll link here if you're watching on the YouTube video. But in essence, if you pair fonts with too much personality, the personalities start to clash with each other. Because when you use quite clean and crisp fonts like these, then you can see that instead they're actually complementing one another. But I want to say too, you don't just have to do these fonts. You can have a play. I've got on the screen now some examples of $1 million brands and brands that look really beautiful and crisp and clean and modern and professional, but they aren't listening to those rules that I just shared with you. So while you can follow these rules, you can also break these rules. And when you know what the rules are, you know how to break them well. So this one here pairs a really beautiful script font. This is a really big trend that's coming in now, pairing a script font with a serif font. You can do just a beautiful handwritten kind of font as well, or a beautiful cursive font, or even like a really childish kind of font. But when you pair that with a really clean design, it all still comes together and brings in personality with $1 million brand. Another trick if you're wanting to do a $1 million brand that isn't really minimal in its coloring, which you can totally do. If you're happy with kind of a beigey kind of minimal aesthetic, totally lean into that. But I know that a lot of people that follow me and are in my world come to me because they also like that brightness. So I wanted to make sure I address this as well, is that you can have a bright brand and $1 million brand. And a lot of what that is by bringing in some really strong pop colors paired with that more minimal design or paired with some more stripped back colors here. So you can see this version here of Megan's brand. It's got that really bright color pop of that pink here, but the rest of the brand is quite like whites and darks. Another brand here that got the bland to bold version here. Again, we've got some really dark, we've got a clean black font on a cream background, but a few different color pops in there to pull it all together. Same with this Wild Stems brand, clean and white, bringing in some color pops. Or you can do color pop on color pop. So you can see I've got some versions here that have like a really bright color on the background of another really bright color. And the cleanness of those designs is what elevates it. And the colors do look really, really incredible together. They're done very, very intentionally. It's not just whacking a couple colors together you find. They're being done very intentionally. I won't go into that in this video, but in essence, you have to be intentional about how you pair your colors as well. A real big trend that has just been in, I think it's still going to be in for a little bit longer, is this tennis ball green color as well. It's kind of like a fluoro yellowy green. Using that tennis ball green pop or a different color pop with a more neutral color palette and having that pop of color come out is so, so powerful. Really makes your design stand out, look unique, and also bring in a little personality if you feel like you're not aligned with that beige kind of style. Another design trend I'm seeing particularly on Instagram is utilizing emojis. Now, you wouldn't think emojis would be something that $1 million brand would be aligned with, but oftentimes emojis are a way to kind of make $1 million brand look more personal. So like we mentioned with those color pops, If you have a more unique and simple brand, adding in those emojis is really quite powerful. And I've seen like literally $1 million brands that are turning over 7 figures, even still using emojis in their designs. So I think it makes them feel more approachable, even though they are a really high-end and successful brand. And you can see here this version, we've got standard emojis, or you could even use something that's more unique to your brand. If you have a kind of a brand style, you could use kind of your own custom emojis as well. The next design trend I wanted to speak to, which is really important if you do want a more elevated brand, so you're not just wanting to be $1 million business, but you want your brand to feel quite elevated, is this quite clean layout and using thin lines. So you can see all these designs that I've shared with you. We've got this thin line here, this thin line here, thin lines, thin lines, thin lines, thin lines, thin lines, thin lines. These thin lines really help to kind of make your designs feel dainty and clean and elevated. I know I use the word elevated a lot, but it really is a great word. Premium would be another word to use for this. And so if you're wanting your designs to feel more premium, utilize this. Utilize thinner lines. Utilize more clean designs. Don't do thick lines. If you want your brand to feel playful and friendly, use really thick lines. But if you want your brand to feel elevated and premium, use thin lines. Whether that's the box of a design, whether it's a separating margin, whether that's a button outline, using those thin lines rather than thick lines is really, really useful. This can be the same even too with your icons. Like every single time you have any sort of line work in your designs, the thinner you make them, the more elevated it will look. Just make sure you don't go so thin that the line isn't even visible, depending on where your final artwork is being displayed. And the last thing I want to talk about is how, if you are using color and backgrounds, we don't want to use necessarily watercolor anymore. Watercolor is definitely a thing of the past. It can be still used nicely occasionally, so don't just throw the whole idea out. But what's in right now is block colors, texture, and gradient. So you can see here with these gradients here, it's actually got a little bit of texture in it as well. It's got quite a grainy effect. I've actually recently done a tutorial on this if you are wanting to catch that. But that gradient kind of effect with a little bit of texture is really in. Using textures in general is really in. So just like a really subtle grainy texture, really subtle paper texture, really subtle retro kind of texture, that can be an effective way to create a bit of interest in your designs, even though it is quite simple and stripped back. Or even just using plain block color with no texture, no gradient is still really, really on trend. This left-hand design here, or this design here, or this far right-hand design, this is just two colors flat on top of each other. It looks super crisp and premium. And so we've just explored some of the most exciting design trends for 2025. How to use simplicity, contrast, color, even emojis to elevate your brand. But here is the thing I need you to know about trends. They are only as powerful as the strategy behind them. If you are just copying trends without understanding how to make them work for your unique business, they can actually be holding you back. Design trends are really just the cherry on top to build the foundation of $1 million brand, because it takes just 7 seconds for someone to form a first impression of your brand. So what message is your brand currently sending? Does your brand say premium and in demand, or does it say scrappy and pulled together? You know you want your brand to reflect the quality and service that you offer, but right now it's not quite adding up. Perhaps your visual messaging just doesn't reflect you or your business in a way that is professional and authentic, and it's deterring clients. Or maybe you've thought about investing in a graphic designer, but you feel nervous because you crave that control yourself and struggle with the idea of handing your beloved business into someone else's hands, let alone the expense and the time that takes. Or perhaps you've worked with a designer before, but it didn't turn out quite as you would have liked, and after you've finished, after you paid thousands of dollars to them, you realize you needed to look totally different, but you don't know how to fix it yourself. Or maybe your designer did a fine job, but it's really not practical to keep on hiring them over and over and over for every single ongoing project, and there's heaps of those. And honestly, you're bursting at the seams with ideas for your business, but you're feeling frustrated whenever it comes to creating graphics that do your ideas justice, and you're wondering why your brand doesn't look as premium as all the other businesses in your field. Or you might even have a team member like a VA creating your graphics, but they're not trained in design, and you feel consistently underwhelmed, but you're unsure of how to help them to improve. If you said yes to any of these things and you're ready to create a high demand, professional and effortless brand, keep listening. I want to invite you to something I haven't seen offered anywhere else, to create that high demand brand and those professional graphics with me. I call it co-creation, because DIYing your graphics is great. Even learning design from my YouTube tutorials or even in my course is also great, but there comes a time where you just need professional help. But having a designer on retainer costs the big bucks, and you've been doing this long enough to know that you don't just need a logo, you need a brand. And not only do you need a brand, you need all the other graphics that go along with that. Each social media post, presentation slides, website, Facebook cover, program logos, meta ads, worksheets, lead magnet, podcast graphics, sales pages, the list goes on, because your business isn't static, it's dynamic, it's relevant, and it needs to show up consistently across all your different platforms and offers. So I thought of a solution. I want to help you create your graphics. That way you can create quickly and efficiently designing with confidence, knowing your graphics are working to help you to grow your business and connect with your audience, making sure that they know that you are the brand to be working with, but not doing it in a way that's spending a few $1,000s every single month for done-for-you design services. So I want to invite you to the Co-Creation Design Club. This is a done-for-you creative and design support for the scaling entrepreneur who's ready to craft that high-demand brand without the cost of an in-house designer. This is a 6-month high-touch space where we'll support you in designing your unique graphics that stand out and book out on repeat. We'll provide you with the tools, strategies, creative expertise, and hands-on support for you and your team to take you through every stage of your business. Because successful entrepreneurs are not spending hours in Canva, and nor should you. It's time to take back your time and energy back into your zone of genius while we support you with ours, helping you to create elevated designs for any project at a fraction of the cost of an in-house designer. And soon you'll be resonating with the success of my past Cub clients. You'll be launching your new brand or project out into the world and being met with clients racing through the doors with excitement and passion because your brand resonates with them and communicates your goodness at a glance. You'll be having potential clients stumbling onto Instagram or your website and instantly feeling a connection with you, instantly trusting you because your business just oozes professionalism. Or maybe you'll be lying in bed one night when a business transforming idea pops into your head. You grab out your phone, you write it in your notes, and the next morning you pop into Canva and you create an incredible design you're able to share immediately because you have the skills and the speed to create something incredible. Or maybe you're getting emails from podcasters or respected websites or blogs asking to feature you because your business looks reliable and has set you up as the expert. And maybe you're just showing up daily with confidence and clarity with that standout brand and graphics that will launch you into the best year of business that you've had yet. This can be you. I see you. I see you. You've got such big dreams. You've got big projects in mind. And I've got the know-how, the steps, and the Canva obsession to make it happen. So let's pick a project. Let's pick 20 projects, 100 projects, and work on them together. We'll be the dream team. Perhaps it's time for a rebrand, or maybe you're ready to launch an online course or relaunch your online program. Maybe you want to create a podcast or rebrand your podcast. Maybe it's time to lift your social media game a little bit from being ho-hum to being something that people are excited to look at. Together, we'll create your graphics, along with a supportive cohort of like-minded women to cheer you on. 6 months of support, clarity, direction, and growth. I'm going to give you the tools you need and the steps to take to help you take the action, to help you create the graphics. And the best bit is that when you'll get stuck, I'll be there. When you need a second opinion, I'll be there. When Canva isn't doing what you want it to do, I will be there. When you can't find the perfect font, I'll be there. When a layout just isn't sitting right, I'll be there. Whenever you have any problem or want any help or support inside Canva, I will be there with bells on, supporting you, designing with you, and guiding you to the perfect solution for you, your business, and your brand. I'm going to support you to create a standout brand and graphics that reflect your expertise and are client magnets. I'm going to help you to share graphics that are so professional they ooze reliability, trust, and loyalty, which is going to lead to more conversions and revenue for your business. I'm going to equip you and your team with lifelong skills that will carry you through your business journey, supporting you for growth and evolution at every single stage. And I'm going to give you valuable time back in your business to work in your zone of genius and in making sales because you've learned how to create graphics quickly and ethically. Plus, you're going to get lifetime access to my DIY course that you have all the tools and resources at your disposal. The Co-Creation Design Club is an experience tailored to your needs, to your place in business, to your skill set, and to your dreams to equip you with those lifelong skills to take your business to the next level and up forever. Doors are open right now, and I would love to have you inside. Don't miss this chance to use design to elevate your business to that next level. Apply today and let's co-create together. And so don't let your visuals hold you back one more day. Go to whitedeer.com.au/design club right now to apply, and let's start co-creating together.